Hello, DM Dango here with another review from the DM's Guild. This time we're looking at an anthology of adventures from PB Publishing. So, what are you getting with PB Publishing's Adventure Anthology? You're getting 9 adventures in total, 6 of which are full adventures, 3 are mini dungeons. Now, the full adventures are Something Smells Fishy, The Haunt, Struggle on Three Horn Valley, The Amulet of Shavaka, Minotaur's Bargain, and Minotaur's Betrayal. Now, each of these adventures represents a time point in the author's kind of content creation on DM's Guild. And Something Fishy being the earliest, and the Amulet of Shavaka being the last. And it's interesting to note kind of the growth of the author and how he's gotten better at his craft and incorporated certain elements or lost other ones and kind of thrown them by the wayside. Now, I will, full disclosure here, Something Fishy didn't kind of grab me, didn't bite me, as it were, when I first read through it. It felt like a weak one, and it was also, unfortunately, the very first one I read, and I was a little worried. But then I started reading The Haunt and going through the Struggle of Three Horn Valley and going through Minotaur's Betrayal and Minotaur's Bargain and the Amulet of Shavaka, and they are much, much better than Something Fishy. In fact, they actually get better as you go along if you could follow the chronology, whatever. If you can follow that path as it goes through. It's nice to see that. It means that the author takes criticism and feedback and incorporates it into everything he does so that I can look forward to the things he's doing in 2018, which is good to hear. So I would fully recommend anything from PB Publishing from going forward, with some caveats, obviously. So in terms of its rating overall, I think it's about 4 out of 5 stars. And it's definitely a buy at $10. You can't really go wrong. And I think it's on sale right now, so go and pick it up after this video. As for why it only has 4 stars rather than 5, there are some minor issues. The aforementioned Something Fishy is one of the earlier, I think it's his earliest work. I think it's actually his first ever project up on DM's Guild. And I think it lets part of the anthology down to the point where it's like, you didn't... It's a good first adventure for somebody putting something on DM's Guild, but against the light of things like The Haunt and Minotaur's Bargain and Betrayal, by the way, those 2 adventures, they are worth $10 on their own. So that's some high endorsement for me. But Something Fishy kind of lets the rest of them down a little bit. There's another thing that I think doesn't get addressed very well in some of the earlier adventures. It's more prevalent, and even in the other ones, there's kind of like this constant thread of this thing. So I'll try to explain it the best way I can. So there is a type of player, and if you've seen a Rubik's Cube, you know how to solve a Rubik's Cube. It's, it's a cube, and you solve it, and you put all the squares on different sides, and eventually you spin the things, and they end up all colors on all sides are, the same. Now, that's for most players. Most players will solve a puzzle like that. This kind of player, and it happens to be the one I am, will take the stickers off and put them in the right places. He's solved the puzzle technically. And that's how I kind of tend to play. And I tend to play wizards. I tend to play wizards with a lot of utility spells or the more interesting, unique spells that do damage, but they do it in weird and funky ways. I take spells like Flaming Sphere, for instance, because why not? I like taking a ball of fire and crushing it through buildings, because I can. It's a great way to start a fire very quickly. The other, and that's persistent across all of these adventures. It's this kind of thought of this kind of player doesn't exist in my game, so I haven't thought about him. And to be fair, my wife did mention when I was talking about this with her, this kind of player doesn't exist very often. And when they do exist, they can cause a lot of problems. And my DMs, the ones I play with, they think I can see sometimes the hate in their eye when I go, can I do this? If I did this and go and do this, and it's like, yes, technically you can burn the house down with that. It's kind of like that, and it's kind of like, well, this kind of player hasn't been thought of, but it's not a complete detriment. So that's the thing that I don't like. However, in terms of everything else, the stuff you get, the maps that are included are very well done, and they get better as you go along. Something Fishy has the Fantasy Ground style, very like pre-generated maps. I think there's a program out there. I kind of recognize it and looked like something I've seen before. As you go along, you start to see some more hand-drawn stuff, some nice isometric stuff that's really well done. It's very good to see that kind of growth as you go along, and it's very nice to see that consistent style as well. In addition to that, there's a mechanic that I really like in there as well. And it's that mechanic of there are scripted encounters. So like you have a seagull attack, right? And the seagulls are attacking, and on round 1 this happens, and on round 2 this happens, and on round 3 this happens. And it's very well done in terms of what you expect to happen. And as a dungeon master, it's really nice to see that for certain encounters. Not every single one, obviously. And it's not every single one. But the ones you kind of, this is going to happen. And sometimes, as a DM, I'm not going to lie, I've forgotten a spell or ability that a monster has. And the script allows you to kind of maximize and utilize these spells and abilities that these creatures have to their maximum effectiveness. Or at least in a way that's thematically clear. It's very useful in the Haunt, for instance. There's a particular monster that has a very scripted pattern, and it's nice to have that because of the weirdness of her abilities. So it's very good in that respect. And the Haunt in general is a great adventure, so yeah. In addition to that, the stories presented are very good, and they're very different from each other as well. Something Fishy is a very heavy murder mystery. The Haunt is a very, horror themed or spooky ancient kind of style. Minotaur's Bargain is all about kind of honor and battle, and how you can how do you not only win a battle, but how do you win it with honor as well, to kind of couple those together. It's very nice to see this kind of mix of adventures. Something Fishy had an interesting idea in it that I think wasn't used again because of the whole idea around never split the party. But it was nice to see that for Something Fishy, you would start in 4 separate locations and then join up later. And each of those 4 separate locations would have an adventure. Now, as a seasoned dungeon master, I know that if I did that, if I had 4 separate things, the other 3 people might get bored. So, not sure on that one. But then Something Fishy has kind of all this kind of weird things and ideas that are thrown at it, and kind of throw everything at the wall, see what sticks kind of thing, which is fine for a first thing through. So, in regards to like the overall package of the Anthology, like I said before, I think it's earned its 4 stars. I think it's earned its buy, and I can't recommend this enough. I think it's still on sale right now, so go and pick it up right now as time of this review, which is January 30th. Speaking of January 30th, my contest for Minor Magics runs out on January 31st. So please make sure to go and comment on that video to make sure you've got an entry to get a free copy of Minor Magics. Right. Please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. It lets me know I'm doing the right thing. People like this content, and I will continue to do more as long as I get those likes, subscribes, and views. In the future, I'm going to be running a contest for each week on this channel. I've got some stuff in the works. The next video will have the new contest in it. I can't exactly tell you what that is just yet because I haven't worked out the final details, but expect it in the next video. Thank you. Peace out.